love. It's just me, Emily. Welcome to my podcast where we explore how to discover your soul's purpose, embody your essence, and live a life in alignment with your truth. Today, I am joined by the lovely Amberella. This interview has been coming for such a long time. Amber is a street artist. I mean, are you from Denver or are you from Philly?
You're from Philly.
Okay.
Yes.
But I found her work out here in Denver. She sprinkles these beautiful little hearts around the streets through mosaics, through, I don't know, the other medium that you use.
They're just 2D paste ups, I would call them.
Okay.
Kind of reminds you of guerrilla style street art where it's just flat on the building, like poster style, but I share them in permanent style as well.
They're so cute. And the one that I saw with my daughter was this beautiful mosaic that just said, "You are magic." And we took a picture of it. And then I posted it and Amber and I started connecting.
Yes.
And now she's here on the podcast, which is just so cool how life works out like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into how Amber discovered her purpose of being an artist and through this medium as well, and how it was kind of through grief that brought you to this experience.
Yes.
So we will dive into that. But first, I want to ask you the question that I ask all my guests, and that's, what are some of the masks you think you wear? And then when you take them off, who do we get to see behind that mask?
So the masks I wear in the world, I feel so integrated with who I am. What my true essence is how I am moving through the world. And the thread of that you really find in how I present. So the masks that I wear as an artist, as a Kundalini yoga teacher, as a practitioner of embodiment and energetic work, it is who I truly am. And I'm brave enough to share it out in the world. And I've always kind of marched to the beat of my own drum, even as a child. And so I think that almost was a training for me to embody just who I really am and let that shine through. And so the transmission of who I am, and I get that word from being in a teacher training program this year. They had asked us, what's the transmission you want to bring to your teaching? And that transmission should match who you are out in the world. And for me, I am living my transmission. So my transmission is Queen of Radiant Light and Gushing Pleasure.
Oh my God.
And I feel that every day, I feel so much light, even in the kitchen in the morning when I'm making matcha, or oh my goodness, I'm going to have a little piece of chocolate and I'm in so much pleasure. And so I feel really lucky in that kind of just came through my whole life. And I know that that's what people are trying to get to out in the world. And so, I want to think more about the masks too, but they feel so integrated with who I am. And that's something that a lot of my loved ones or others will say, I love how you just are you out in the world. And I'm weird. And I am.
Love it.
And
I love it. Yeah.
That's okay. And I think that's how I've had success in business is I am me.
Totally.
Yeah.
They say that authenticity is one of the highest vibrations, and you can feel that when someone is just 100% standing in their truth. So I love that you were masks. I don't even know, because it just feels so integrated. And I think that's truly what living your purpose is it's not about what you do, it's who you are.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to dive in and hear about your journey to get there, because it is work. It really is so much work to show up in your authenticity.
Yeah.
So, because this podcast is really about truth and finding your purpose, can you tell us about the journey that kind of got you to where you are now?
I love you.
Miley had a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
Specifically around heart arts.
Yeah.
Heart art.
Heart art. Yeah. So I wouldn't be in as much pleasure as I am out in the world and sharing what I'm sharing without the significant losses, trials, tribulations I've had in my life. And all of it has given me so much perspective. And at the time that I was navigating certain losses in my life, it I it was so painful. And one significant time period of my life, I had a lot of health issues. I was in and out of the hospital for 4 years. I felt so alone, and it was such a schooling. Like, it felt like I was in university for 4 years. Like, looking back, I'm so grateful for that time of deep suffering in my own self and being alone and learning how to, like, navigate that and even get through, and I didn't know the things that I know now about how to move grief through my body. I didn't really know then. And so it was such a hard time. But my point of sharing that is going through what I went through during that chunk of loss or time period in my life, because it was a loss. It was a loss of how I thought my body was going to move through the world. It was a loss of time, money, just friendship, like not getting to participate in life, just all these things. And oh my gosh, now every little thing is just such a gift.
Yeah.
It's like when you have experiences like that, it makes everything so much sweeter, and it just shifts your perspective in such a significant way. So grateful for that time period just to give me the additional perspective. Not that I didn't have that. I have this vigor for life naturally about me that I've always had. Like, I'm excited every day. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wake up excited. I truly am. But it made it even more potent.
Yeah.
And so that's such a gift. Yeah. And as far as the heart art, that really stemmed from another really difficult time period in my life in my early 20s, when I didn't understand how to express my heart and how to relate at all. I was totally clueless. I was not taught from the relationship I saw from my parents growing up. I had such a weird. The dog's angry. The dog's literally angry right now.
In a walk. She's mad at me.
She feels it. So I just think none of that was modeled for me, and I was kind of finding my way, and not in a great way. And I was in so much suffering internally, and I didn't know how to move the energy. I didn't know who to talk to about it that had advice of healthy ways of relating. I didn't have examples. So that's when the heart started. Yeah, I had fallen in love with the idea of placing art in public spaces in a way that it was just a moment in time that I could move energy and share it on the wall and walk away from it, and I could be complete and just leave it to exist. Yeah. And so with the hearts, I started putting all of these charged emotions that I was having within the hearts, because I wasn't able to speak them.
Yeah.
I was too afraid of losing love. I was too afraid to share my truth. And so it was a way to move the energy and share, and just go. I would go by myself at night, which was very dangerous. I don't recommend that. I mean, I was like early 20s. I was pretty fearless, like living in the city. I'd lived there for a long time, but I would go and like put these hearts up. And also I fell in love with the whole process of photographing my work. I went to school for photography. I have a BFA in photography. And so my eyes are just so visually trained of the final beautiful frame. So that was so nourishing to me to like have this completion of like, I shared my heart, I made this beautiful moment, and that was it. And I could walk away.
Yeah.
But the heart said things like, you're losing me. You're all I need. They were the full range of emotions that we experience in relating. And so people started coming across these and they were impacting them because these are just universal feelings and emotions. And it just turned into this situation of who's doing this? Like they were impacting people. And it was right when Instagram was coming out. So it was not, which Instagram was more of like a visual diary. It wasn't to share really your gifts in the world. I don't know. It was more just kind of a personal thing.
It's like organic.
Yeah. And so I would share on there, but it was in a totally different way. It was like my visual diary, you know? So, but yeah, that kind of like is how that art, that creation came out in the world. It was just me. It was the embodiment of the truth of my heart, moment by moment, day by day. And I was in so much suffering. And as the years started going by, so this over the course of maybe like a year or two, you know, people are writing about this in the newspaper, like who's doing these, or like they're finding out who I am and they're like wanting to interview me. And meanwhile, I'm a mess. Like I am literally putting these things up, like going through this like push and pull, very unhealthy relationship. Like I'm in such deep suffering. I remember times like, you know, sobbing in the street, like putting up this heart. And then it's like all these people are talking about it and sharing it. And I'm like, I literally feel suicidal. Like, you know, it was just like so interesting to like, especially thinking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how did I even like make it?
Well, what's
Like,
coming through for me?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, what's coming through for me is I totally resonate because it reminds me of like when Ian died, and I wasn't like trying to really make anything of it. It's just that writing my emotions, probably because it was hard for me to process them too. I wasn't really embodied at the time, and I would intellectualize them, so I could write about them as if I was observing them, and then share about my experience online on social media as well. And again, it wasn't like it was now.
Yeah.
And it just felt organic and good. And then it started helping other people. So I want to just like, I totally resonate with that. And I love how a lot of the sentiments that you put were kind of like the shadowy ones.
Yes, that's how it started.
Right?
They were not how they are now. Like now they're very different, which we can get into.
Right.
That's
but
a
like
whole different
how validating to see that like someone else is going through a relationship breakup or a relationship that they're not happy in, or it's not healthy or whatever it is. And they're like, oh my God, I feel so seen because somebody else out there is having the same experience as I am. And it's like, you don't need to know who, but it's there. So
yeah, and that was such a moment in time for me too, that I was having this realization of our universal humanness.
Yeah.
And like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, and neither are these people. And people would start like, then I kind of felt like, oh, something's happening with this.
Yeah.
And then I started kind of like putting energy into it, where I was like, should I make a website? Like, should I make some pins? Like, people were wanting to commission me. And I was like, how? It was so strange to me at the time. I didn't really understand what was happening. But that piece was coming through.
Right.
People were emailing me, sending me letters, and sharing with me the moment in time that they saw that and like what was up for them. And I just was like, wow, this is really energetically doing something.
Yeah.
That's important.
Right. Totally. And it's, I think, because I'm like the more like I like to intellectualize, and this is what happened for me too. And the way that I frame it is, it started adding new meaning to this horrible situation that you were going through. It's like, I can put this out there, and when it helps someone, it's like, ooh, I get this like positive feedback in return, and it starts to the spiritual teaching of like everything in life is happening for us,
Yes.
but it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Yes.
But it's like planting that seed at a like visceral level, you know?
And we were alchemizing. We were in so much magic.
Yeah. Without even knowing.
Yeah. Just witches witching around. Like,
so
yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So walk us through a little bit more about the turning point for you in terms of like, I have this thing and I don't really know what it is, but I'm just going to like follow the nudge and go for this.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like?
Definitely just being brave and bold, which I do see looking back on my entire life of just following these threads of energy.
Yeah.
And so I just felt so in it, and I just let myself be in it, and I just kept pushing myself to be vulnerable because, like I was saying, it was really uncomfortable to be asked to have interviews or be like, I'm having this heartbreak and it's public. Like it's on the cover of the city paper. And I'm like, I'm literally in shambles. Like, it was so wild, but I like getting people's letters and like all of that coming through where I'm like, wow, like everyone's going through everything.
Yeah.
Like all the time. So what started to shift though is I got into therapy and I started to really get into Buddhism and really studying that as much as I could and Marianne Williamson and all these things. And when I got into therapy, I mean, I was like, I need help. I'm not okay. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I was getting older, I'm like maybe 23, 24. And that's when the body of work started shifting into what I call the power hearts. Yeah. And so I started I'm like, fuck this. I'm making messages for me, not about me and some charged relationship. Right. And like, that was what I needed at the time. But I was turning inward. Yeah. And so all of the hearts all the goth hearts, I call them, the shadowy hearts were popular too. Yeah. But the ones that are really popular now are the ones, you got this, keep going, all of those messages. You are worth it, you're magic. Every single one of those hearts has a story.
I want to cry.
About it's me. Like a moment in time, like one of them said, be brave. And it was when I was starting to struggle with health issues again, and I was so scared. And I made that for myself. Yeah. Like I, at night, I'm like, oh my gosh, be brave. And I went and pasted it up so that I would see it on my way to the hospital. Like it literally, like I never sat around, okay, what would sell? Like it never was that ever. And so I think the interesting part about this is that what's so up right now and so relevant to the shift that's happening in business is it's all about storytelling and who people are, and people want to work with people because of their story and who they are and the story of their brand and their business. And I organically was just living that. Like, that's what happened. Yeah. And then suddenly it's like, I'm working with Doc Martin, Spiritual Gangster, Urban Outfitters. I'm doing work in the community, like working with refugee children, making their safe spaces a sanctuary. And what do they want to say? Yeah. In their language and English. And just so many different paths were unfolding. And so I just kind of went with it.
It's so cool. And I like, it's crazy. I just resonate so much with everything, like your path and your journey. Because I feel like the second you shift from heart-led to, I want to do this for a certain result. Yeah. It doesn't fucking work. No. And like, I've been in a death portal around my business for the past year and a half now because it shifted. Yeah. And I was like, this isn't not only is it just not working, but it doesn't feel good. It's such like a
Yeah.
different energetic when you're creating from that space of just like the be brave moment.
Yeah.
And people feel that resonance, like that stickiness, because it's just
100%.
coming through you as opposed to like trying so hard. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's so cool to see like a living, breathing version of that. And like, yeah, now everyone tries to teach you how to do that,
Yeah,
like how to be heart-led and
totally.
embodied.
Yes.
Because that's the secret sauce. But
Yes.
that's great. And then we get to have
Yeah,
more people anchored into their
totally.
truth and just channeling source through them,
Yeah.
essentially, right?
And I think
Um,
also a way that I got lucky, whatever you want to call it, charmed along the way is I already was so unabashed in my transmission and essence of who I am
mhm.
that I really let my heart, I mean, I guess it was a gift that my work was all about the heart,
Yeah.
and I showed up that way. I decided, fuck that. I don't care if you're not supposed to use all capitals or emojis in a business email with a $1 million or $1 billion brand. Like, that's who I am. And it's like almost an artist card too, like getting away with things. But I just didn't play by the rules either
I love
in
that.
business. Like, and now that's what people are teaching is just be you. So
Yeah.
I think I just got a head start almost with that, but I didn't know.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so, I love
I
it.
didn't.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Life can get hella complicated. We chase success, we hustle for money, we strive to make an impact. We juggle the day-to-day responsibilities, and we try to make everyone else around us happy. But at the end of the day, does any of this actually matter? I can't answer that question for you because what truly matters is different for everyone. There is no formula, no blueprint, no checklist for a life well lived. But the one thing we all share is a limited amount of time to live it. And that's why I think facing your mortality is the key to unlocking a life that truly matters. Death is a mirror. When you confront the fact that this all ends, the noise fades away. The ego-driven shoulds, the societal pressures, and the endless to-do lists suddenly don't seem so important because facing your mortality isn't about fear. It's about freedom. It's about waking up, cutting through the distractions, and making choices that actually align with your soul. That's why I created YOLO, a 3-part transformational experience designed to help you engage with your mortality so that you can actually start living. You only live once. Are you ready to make the most of it? If so, head to the link in my show notes or go to www.IamEmilyBingham.com/YOLO. So tell us, so all of this like amazing, you're getting all this like momentum around like your business and your art. But what's happening to like the human behind
Yeah.
it? Like what was happening to your grief? And you said you were doing therapy, but
Mhm.
you also started working with John Wineland, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about, and also what I want to throw in here too is like, and if this resonates.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm throwing a lot, but like for me, it was almost like I was bypassing my grief because all this good was
Totally.
coming. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
really had to like go back and like dive into the pain.
Yeah, this was not like, woo, I'm going up. This was like big dips, like all kinds of things and other things surfacing.
Yeah.
So I remember as the hearts got so popular, everyone wanted to sing for me. Well, I didn't know how to manage that. And I didn't deal with a lot of the other stuff. I was dealing with the relational stuff and all of that, but I didn't understand how to move or manage my energy or fully express myself. There's so much, and I'm still learning so much. And at that time, I completely burnt out. I was just doing I was like, everyone wants everything, and I'm going to stay up every night till 4 a.m. and never sleep. And then that was a whole nother lesson learned surrounding energy and business and how I show up and attention and awareness and tracking. So all of that. But what I noticed is around the time that I found John's work. I found John because I was getting curious about what it meant to be in your feminine.
Mhm.
And it wasn't really a big buzzword yet, feminine, masculine, embodiment, polarity, all of that.
Yeah.
It was kind of just starting to surface. And I read something somewhere. I don't even think it was on Instagram. And then I somehow found a YouTube of John just speaking about masculine and feminine and love and consciousness. And what I felt coming through from him was something really sacred and a lot of things that I had never heard about before.
Yeah.
And it just really touched me. And I needed to know more. And I specifically remember, I think I watched some type of video that was something surrounding like how you show up to the masculine, maybe like what men really want, or I don't remember. But what he was sharing was just so beautiful. And it was kind of the opposite of how I had showed up in relationships.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is that the way that I was showing up was that I could do everything and that I was like I could fix my truck. Like I could like get the ladder. Like I thought it was
You're like
cool.
full-blown masculine.
Yeah, but I didn't understand that then, but I am such a feminine being, and
Yes.
that's how I want to be. So I'm like, I am feminine, but I got really interested in that. All that to say, that's what led me to him and to his website, and they were interviewing for a women's program that was starting like a week later. And I had no idea it was about the yoga of intimacy. And I remember in my interview, I told, I think my teacher Allie interviewed me, and I said, I can't do downward dog. Like I can't slip disc. And she's like, no, this is a different type of yoga. Like it was really funny, but I was clueless. But once I got into that work, I found so much more there that had nothing to do with relationship. I mean, it did. It had so much to do with it, but we do so much work surrounding ourselves more. And that's what I started getting into was how do I move energy? How do I grieve? What does that even mean? And I really attribute and am so grateful to John for teaching me that, because that has opened my body, my heart, what I share in the world so much more in such a bigger way. And now when I have really big loss or griefs in life, which is going to continue to happen, I actually know what to do, and I can find the pleasure in that. And that reminds me of Tantra, like, being able to find pleasure and stay open amidst pain in life. And so, yeah, I'm just so grateful. So that's when a lot more started to shift for me. And I really got to step into my grounded truth of who I am. I had an invitation from another teacher that I've worked with over the years to get here. I'm so cosmic. I'm so in the other realms, and I love that. And she said, you need to fucking get here, And I was like, wow. And every day for a year, she had me in the morning. I would pound the earth and say, I am rooted stardust here on this earth, here. I had to like get here, but we are here. And so let's be here,
1000%.
So I've just learned so much, and I'm continuing to learn so much. And I want to share that though. People ask me how you're so much magic. Things just come to you. They just keep coming. And it's true. I've been sharing my art for 15 years. And there's been so many moments too of like, how can I keep sharing this? Like, yuck, I don't want to share the same thing. You know what I mean? Like I'm a creator. Like I'm creating so much. And But when I keep being led in these moments in time to different spaces or places that are all over the country or the world or different people, and I'm getting these like letters from people that are sharing, I wanted to kill myself. I was driving home to kill myself and I saw this heart
Yeah.
under a bridge and I pulled over and
So
I
cool.
didn't. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, not like I'm not some hero, but I'm just saying that I can't stop sharing
Yeah.
until it's time. If I felt it was time, I would. But what I do know is time is that I need to share more of my magic of how I do what I do and how I am embodied and how I am in my truth and how I do know how to manage my energy in a
Yeah.
really specific way. It's like, I'm so excited to share. And that's why I just taught Kundalini yoga in Denver last night. Because I just want to share with people different modalities, you know?
Totally. Oh my God,
Yeah.
there's so
There's
much
so
here.
much.
And I'm gonna go back to some of those things that
Yeah.
we talked about, but like what was coming through for me as you were talking about just like sharing, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of really ugly stuff happening in the world right now, and it's hard. I was having this conversation this morning, like it's hard to know how to help.
Yeah.
And I love that like it's literally just as simple as like you being you. Because you put your heart out there and you have no idea that in that moment it might be just like, oh, this is just a positive like mantra, but for that guy who drove past it, who was on his
Yeah.
way to take his own life, like it saved him. And so it's like if we can just stop trying to figure it all out and just allow, right? And just be
Mhm.
in integrity with who we are and like know what integrity feels like in your body too. Because it's
Yes.
like when we overthink it, it becomes
Yes.
a whole thing. But yeah, I just see that like so embodied in you.
Thank you.
But what I want to go back to for a moment is the grief piece.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, it's the pain and the pleasure, right? Because
Mhm.
there is it's one. It's the same thing.
Yes.
And Tantra teaches us how to hold both. But you've also spoken to me offline a little bit about ritualizing grief and
Mhm.
that grief can be like a ceremony for you now. So I was just curious if you could share what your practice is like for anyone who might be dealing with grief. Because like you said, we're going to deal with more loss, whether it's an
Yeah.
illness like you've dealt with, a job loss, a death like my husband, right? It's a part
Yeah.
of life.
Yeah. I feel like I've lived in the sacred for most of my life, even since a little girl. And so bringing that to grief, a way to honor grief, has been so healing and important for me. And it feels like home almost. So sharing about my teacher earlier, something that he taught was, could you make an altar for your grief?
Mm,
Could you honor your grief?
yeah.
Like, it's part of this experience and all of it. And so I've done that over and over again. Like, how can I honor my grief and what I'm going through actually with my altar? But I think what has been even more important for me has been a practice that my teacher taught, which was really giving my grief to the earth and setting a container for that. So having 11 minutes each day or evening to give a container, a time that I'm going to grieve and actually get down on the ground and pour that grief and anger into the earth. And to
Yeah.
me, that is so ritualistic and ceremonial. And so I remember there's been times that I've done that practice every day for 4 months, 6 months, literally like, what is wrong with me? I remember one time asking on a call, like, what's wrong with me? And the answer was, that's what your body wants to do. Just keep
Yeah.
doing it. It's going to lift when it lifts. But even as I did those practices, I was dressing to honor that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to wear a dress for my grief practice tonight. Or like,
Yeah.
it just felt so sacred to me. And it does feel so sacred when I get to do that as my pleasure practice. And I say pleasure practice because any pleasure practice that we're moving energy, it opens our body.
Mm-hmm.
So when I did my grief practice and it ended and I stood up, I could feel my heart just like beaming open, the same as I feel when I'm all juicy in my dripping, gushing pleasure. Like, it's the same difference.
It literally is.
So, yeah.
It's like just that feeling of being so alive, right? And just that
Yes.
energy moving through. Yeah.
Yes. And then also I've experimented over the years of getting even more particular with my grief or anger practice and what's the texture of it? What does my body need in this moment right now? Do I need to stomp on the ground? Do I need to pound a pillow? Do I need to scream? Do I need to go to the ocean and scream from my pussy and my womb and like have this like ancient sound come out of me that I've never even heard?
Yeah.
So that's a way that I see so much growth in myself over the years of just giving myself the permission to be even weirder and weirder with myself and be like, who cares? You know, this is happening and I'm just fine tuning so much of it.
Yeah.
And that goes for the magic too.
Absolutely. I love this practice. And I think so many people have this narrative around grief being bad and what's wrong with me and I shouldn't be feeling this way. So when you create a sacred space for it, with an altar or something, even just lighting a candle, right? But to ritualize it, it removes that charge. It takes away that story.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. And then I love the idea too of setting a container because a lot of people have the fear that like if I go there, I'm never going to stop. They, it can be dysregulating too. So then again, like bringing in earth, ground, to just like surrender it and like feel that you're carried by the Great Mother. Like because it can feel it can feel really scary. So all of that makes so much sense, and I'm gonna borrow some of those. And the anger practice too, right? Like it's all of those emotions can feel so overwhelming. So the more that you can create that safe container and a ritual sanctity around it is so huge. So how did all of this kind of lead you? You talked a little bit around Kundalini yoga. Can you? I'm like so like it keeps coming through Kundalini yoga. And I'm sure I'm like that's like I know I'm being guided there at some point, but I like don't.
I'll share some more.
What it is, like, how did you get there? What are you doing in that space?
So Kundalini is a creative sexual energy that lies dormant at the base of the spine.
Okay.
And through Kundalini yoga, the breath work, the chanting, the different practices, it's basically moving energy. It's like a recipe that produces a specific energetic result. And they're called kriyas. And there's thousands of different kriyas and recipes. And so as an artist, that's really attractive to me. But through doing that, we can awaken that energy and we can also learn how to manage that energy through our center column, our chakras.
Okay.
And so that's kind of just like a little information about it. And then for me, I randomly walked by a studio one day many years ago and I saw Kundalini yoga and I was like, what the heck is that? I went to the class and I thought, this is so weird and I love it. So a lot of it's moving energy. So a lot of times the exercises could be lie on your back and snore is like one of the exercises during a kriya. And you're like, okay, but you feel the effect because you're just like, that's moving energy, the sound, the vibration, all of that. And so that was interesting to me and I got into it. And then in a lot of my different teachers' work, I noticed that they were using Kundalini. John was using a lot of Kundalini practices, breath work, like ego eradicator, breath of fire. And I would feel the effects there. And then when I got really into working getting here on this earth and not just being up here. One of my other teachers mentioned to me, I think diving into Kundalini even more would be good for you because it's such an awesome marrying for me of my masculine and feminine. So you're doing breath work, you're holding poses, and what I love about it is since it is unique in all these different ways, it keeps my feminine interested in all of the different exercises that you're doing because they can seem a little goofy, but I like that.
Yeah.
So for my feminine, I really like that feeling. And chanting what really helped me. So at the end of every Kundalini yoga session, you do a meditation and you use mantra and chanting. And when we chant, it's a vibration. So we're activating different meridian points in our mouth that's releasing chemicals in our brain. And that's why it feels so good. And I loved learning that because when you don't know that and you hear people chanting, it feels so woo-woo to people. And like, I'm chanting and like all this stuff. And no, there's actual scientific effects.
Yeah. And it's ancient.
How cool is that?
It's like an ancient practice too, right? Yeah.
Yes. And so that, though, was such an access point for me to get into my meditative mind and nothingness. And awareness and in my masculine and learn more about my masculine. And over the years, I've grown to love meditation so much and stillness and just being. Yeah. And it helped me to integrate getting here on this earth, first of all, but then it really helped me expand my divine masculine and understand him more and love him and count on him.
Yeah.
He is there for me. And I can access him right away now because I've trained myself. I'm disciplined. I am a yogi. Like my practice is deep and it's consistent and that's kind of how I got into it. And then I did Kundalini yoga teacher training a couple years ago to deepen my practice because I didn't understand what was happening. I could feel the effects, but I didn't feel that people were explaining to me. And so I did teacher training and I never thought I would teach. I don't particularly like being in front of people speaking at all. And I'm like, hello. And that's because my energy, I wasn't able to ground my own energy or track it.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've gotten familiar with that and practiced that. And I can do that now. And doing Kundalini teacher training, I can be clear in my center column. I can be rooted and I love to teach now.
Yeah.
And it feels so nourishing to my creative artistic body to create these classes and plan a playlist and make it accessible to people.
Yeah.
And I explain everything in my classes. So I don't want people to show up and feel like intimidated or that they don't know something or that they're not an insider or that everyone looks a certain type of way. I want anyone to be able to come to my classes and feel like they're held in a very sacred, safe way that they may not have experienced before, but it's accessible.
Yeah.
And they're really welcome. And it's not me just saying like, all are welcome here. No, they feel it because I'm making you feel like you're not a dummy.
Totally.
And that it's I don't know. I explain everything.
Yeah, it can be really intimidating to go into.
Totally.
I think even just the world of spirituality can be extremely intimidating. And that's like the least spiritual thing because no one cares. But you get into this like weird mindset of Kundalini and there's all these different terms. And like, it's intimidating. So what I want to name first is like, I love how, and for our listeners too, because I think this is really key, is like just noticing the points along your path where it was like, this looks curious. Kundalini yoga, the studio. I'm going to go. Or John Wineland, I listened to this video and I went down the rabbit hole and now I'm taking his women's course, right? Like just how simple it is when you can just get out of your own way and just be like, this is curious. This feels aligned. I'm going to go for it.
Yes.
And the pathways just continue to open.
Yeah.
So just naming that. And then just to like ground this in like practical tools again for our listeners, like I see it's like we do all this work around consciousness and kind of like being aware of where we are, the path we're on, where we want to go. And then like a lot of people live in awareness and that's like, great, like fine, you can be very happy in awareness. But it seems like the tools that you really use with like Kundalini yoga, working with your energy, noticing the obstacles, I guess, like the challenges that you were facing and not beating yourself up for having them, but just holding them with objectivity and like, okay, there's this thing that's getting in my way. And like, how do I shift it? Right. With a energetic practice, with a grief ritual, something, right? And I mean, that's how the journey continues to unfold. And that's when we can become just like so fucking powerful. Like we're literally the only one standing in our ways. So I just wanted to reflect that back to you and to people listening, right? Because it's like you're so helpful. You really, like I see that in you and it's so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So speaking of just like bringing things to life, a lot of it has been surrender and faith and just following the threads.
Yes.
But then there's also this piece of desire and claiming your desires in manifestation. So can you share about your process?
Yes, definitely. I remember a teacher years ago saying your desire is magnetic over and over again. And it's so true. And that's an example of embodying your desire. So every month for many, many years, I have been doing these, I call them claimings. And so I write them down. Yeah, I'll show you some. I brought some to show you.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I write these things down and, you know, people do a lot of manifestation work where they write things down that they want and they're like, I'm going to put this on the mirror or I'm going to read this every day. And for me, that feels very just, I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but it feels like just because you're like, okay, I'm going to look at that mirror every day and I'm going to say the thing and that's it. And may it be so. Are you really feeling it? Because that doesn't feel like you're really feeling it. And so for me, what's been so interesting about these claimings, when I have this ritual of writing these things, I really believe them. Like I feel it so much in my body, I don't even read it again. The rest of the month, it's like this knowing that's so deep within me, and I trust that it is true. And it's hard to explain that and just be like, oh, just feel it in your body and know it's true. But like, the intention is so strong.
Yeah.
Of the belief of the magic of who I am. And knowing, and the dog loves it.
She's snoring. We're putting her to sleep.
But knowing that I am so in my truth and my heart and my light and my Sat Nam and Kundalini, that is truth is my name. I am who I say I am. That when I claim these things, I know it's true.
Yeah.
So,
well, and so what I'm curious about, I resonate with that.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm just visualizing like you're dropping in and like feeling that in your body.
Yes.
And it's like this whole frequency upgrade,
Yes.
right? So because they talk a lot about like, oh, you need to become your future self.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what you're doing. But what happens when there's dissonance?
Yeah. So in the everyday, am I moving through my everyday as cosmic queen of radiant light and gushing pleasure?
Heck yeah.
I mean, there's moments in time. Am I in the elevator pressing the button in fucking pleasure? I am. And people feel it.
Yeah.
Like people in my energy feel it. And some people are uncomfortable and it feels weird. And I just think I have to not care. But it's in the embodied moment to moment.
So good.
Like it, and that's where it's not bigger. It's training yourself to be in the micro moments of the everyday.
That's it.
Of being in the pleasure and the magic and the radiance. And when you're not, it's using the tools of, I'm going to go have a tantrum in the corner for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And move the energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Because that moment of closure, me choosing to go do something with it, to cry into the earth, to juice myself up in pleasure, that's me moving the energy in the moment and then coming back with a more open body.
Yeah.
So instead of choosing to stay in the moment of disconnect from my queen of radiant light and gushing pleasure, I'm choosing to move it, whatever energetic shift. Maybe it's just like, I mean, maybe it sounds in the car. That was weird. Maybe don't show that. I don't know. You could show it if you wanted. But maybe it's like, I got to move this energy. So maybe it's just that like 10 seconds. But by choosing to move that in the moment, you're opening your body. So you're able to go back into...
And you're acknowledging it too. Like when we're feeling dissonance or we're having the temper tantrum, it's like there's a part of us that isn't integrated, isn't seen. It's just trying to get our attention. So if you just suppress and avoid and just like cut it off, like it's still going to be there. So acknowledging it through sound, through something, shaking, whatever. It's like, okay, I'm here. And you're standing in your sovereignty and pulling yourself back into this like what was it? The queen of radiant
queen
pleasure.
Of radiant light and gushing pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's also not making it wrong.
Exactly.
Because it's not wrong, and it's not like, I have to be cosmic, radiant, gushing pleasure. Well, guess what? My gushing pleasure was me gushing my tears into the earth.
Right.
Like, I'm not her.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, because she's a dynamic human being who has emotions too, right? Yeah. Yeah, I love this a lot, and I want to think about how to do it more. I've really been trying to get into my, like, queen, but you find the little power leaks every now and then, and it's a lot. It's work. It is work.
Yeah.
So do you focus on one, like,
practice?
Like, do you have, like, an archetype for, like, a month, or is it, like, is there one, manifestation or claiming statement that you work with, or are there like many?
I have a lot. I have a whole, like, I just kind of like whatever's coming through each month, I will claim it.
Yeah.
I brought them. I wish I could pull them up, but I've also done in relationship. It's really fun to play with, I might have used this one before, but I'll use it again. She who must be spanked into oblivion. So how does she walk through the room? How is she getting spanked? Because when I claimed that month, my partner was spanking me all the time.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. That's so good. Because you're becoming. That's the thing. We think we always grasp outside of ourselves for the thing that we think we like for happiness, for joy, for whatever it is. And it's like we just need to shift the energy within us and become the thing, and then we magnetize. Yeah. It's so fucking cool.
And even I just want to share another one that I remember that I did was that I was my boyfriend's pampered pet, and he was just showing up, like bringing me matcha, like all these. It's like so fun.
Oh my God. We need like a one-on-one manifestation, claim and manifestation test. I'm not even joking, because I'm so interested in one of the challenges that I have is it's like holding the tension of like being in my surrender and trust and like allowing and looking for like divine guidance, but then also like recognizing that I am this like powerful creatrix and I do get to manifest and, create whatever life I want.
Yeah.
But I think where we have to be careful is when we get too attached.
Totally.
Maybe can you just tell us like, how do you hold your desire lightly?
Yeah. I think that when I look back on significant moments in time in my life, there's a lot of really big desires I had that I got, but in a totally different way that I could have never imagined and they're so much better. And so like, since I have that actually in my nervous system, so I wanted to go back to school to get my master's in art therapy to help people by using art. And that's when I got really sick and was in and out of the hospital for 4 years. Well, guess what? My art helps people all over the world in such a cooler way. Like, I could have never imagined. I had no idea that's what was going to happen. But that's an example of getting that in your nervous system.
Yeah.
And because I believe that now. Like, I have these desires that are all kinds of desires, you know, the full rainbow. And I know they're happening and they're going to happen, but it might just look so different. So giving yourself that thought permission and knowing that it could be wildly different than you're thinking, but also accepting that. Because if you're pushing up against the universe, that, you know, it's like being in a relationship and having a desire. If you're pushing up to the universe, like, no, not like that.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not how I want it. Is the universe or your partner gonna want to give it to you anymore? They're not.
No.
So it's the same idea of trusting and surrendering in the relationship with the universe, with your partner, with whoever.
Yeah.
This is my desire. My desire is so magnetic. I am living it. I'm breathing it through the hells and depths of being a human and all of the shit. It's coming.
Yeah.
And it could be coming in a really different way. So when things happen that I think are taking away from that desire, that's what I shift into.
Okay.
No, remember when you saved all your money to go to school for art therapy and get a master's and you got sick and you couldn't do it, but then this happened? Like, it's a remembering of that.
Yeah, totally. It's so cool. And that's it. That's huge. Yeah. And life, I mean, I think it's when we do get overly attached, which is where we create the suffering. And if we can hold it lightly and look for the feedback, right? They say failure is feedback, rejection is just a redirect. And it's like, and feel the disappointment, right? Of like thinking it's going to be one way. But then just allowing life to unfold. And that seems to be kind of the secret sauce. Much easier said than done.
Yeah.
But,
and that's also where meditation comes into play and breathing through life.
Yeah.
All of it. And then the pleasure practices and moving energy. So when you have all of those tools, you can be more in that energy.
Right.
And not collapse into...
It's expanding your capacity. Totally. So that it doesn't become all consuming and dark. And, Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited.
So
I know. Can I share about the offering that my friend and I are doing?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So my friend Kelly and I, Kelly is an incredible real estate investor. I don't know how to describe her. Even she creates experiences. So for example, she created a Taylor Swift Airbnb that went viral. She's like creating like bespoke experiences on private islands. Like, she's really awesome. And she's kind of gotten the structural part of business down over the years in all these different ways, whereas I am more of the embodied magic.
Yeah.
And so we often over the years will feed those two off of each other and kind of combine forces and like what our superpowers are. But anyways, we're doing a 5-day women's immersion called Spreadsheets and Magic. Okay. So spreadsheets being the masculine, magic the feminine. How to be embodied in your magic out in the world in an easeful, pleasurable way.
It's amazing.
I am the empress of gushing pleasure as I do my business out in the world. And then structurally, what are the containers that hold that magic?
Totally.
Yeah. So that's coming up. That's going to be in October. And we're just accepting 8 women.
Amazing.
Because
we'll drop the link in the show notes.
Bespoke. Yes.
Where is it?
We're doing that in Phoenix, Arizona
Okay.
at one of Kelly's Airbnbs, one of her
Amazing.
investment properties. Yeah.
Okay. I might have to come.
Yeah. It's
We'll see.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
And then really quick,
Yeah.
before our camera
Yeah.
dies, what are like top 3 tips for like just anyone on the path of self-discovery, truth?
For me, I've noticed it started being with myself and really allowing myself to have time with myself. And that was a deep practice. And being with other women and being in community, I think is really important. I forget what question you asked.
Oh, just 3 tips for like the seeker, like searching for purpose,
yeah.
like wanting to be in their truth.
That and commitment. I would say devotion and intention.
Yeah.
And being yourself. Those 3 things. So authenticity. Can't use that word. Authenticity. Okay, being authentic. Being authentic. So being in your truth.
Yeah.
Being devoted. And then the intention.
Yeah.
Because you need those things for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I love it.
Thank you.
This was such a fun interview. Thank you so much. Listeners, tune in, review, follow. Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening in to It's Just Me, Emily. I hope that you enjoyed the show. If you did, it would be a great honor if you could subscribe and then leave a review. And if you do so, I will send you a beautiful hardback copy of my book, Love and Grief, to the first 20 people who subscribe and leave a review. When you do that, it just helps my podcast get boosted and more people will be able to come in and view the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in another episode.